Today is 22nd September 2025. Let's discuss UPSC relevant news from the Hindu. First news is White House clarify H1B fee is one-time charge for new applicants. ओके सो व्हाइट हाउस ने साफ किया है कि H1B वीज़ा पर लगाई गई न्यू दैट इज $1 लाख की फी एक वन टाइम पेमेंट है. इट इज वन टाइम पेमेंट. ओके जो सिर्फ नए एप्लीकेंट्स न्यू एप्लीकेंट्स पर ही क्या होगी लागू होगी. ये ये एक एनुअल फी नहीं है, ठीक है, और ना ही करंट वीज़ा होल्डर्स या रिन्यूअल्स पर अप्लाई होगी. जो करंट वीज़ा होल्डर्स हैं उन पर ये अप्लाई नहीं होगी. इस क्लैरिफिकेशन के बाद इंडियन प्रोफेशनल्स में जो डर था वो क्या हो गया, काफ़ी ज़्यादा कम हुआ है. ओके एंड यू कैन कोट इन द आंसर अकॉर्डिंग टू द प्रिंसिपल ऑफ WTO's GATT, that is General Agreement on Trade in Services, particularly particularly mode 4, that is presence of natural persons, such steep and sudden fee hike such steep and sudden fee hike can be seen as non-tariff barrier that restrict the free movement of professional and impact the trade in services. Okay, so the White House has clarified that new $1 lakh H1B visa fee is one-time payment applicable only to fresh applicant in the next lottery cycle. It is not annual fee and it does not apply to renewals or current visa holder. This announcement has eased fear that triggered a surge in last-minute flight to the US by Indian professionals. So prelim pointers and traps which you need to remember: annual versus one-time payment. Do not confuse the H1B fee as an annual charges. Okay, it is explicitly a one-time payment for new applicants only, contrary to initial misleading reports and initial confusion caused by the US Commerce Secretary statement. Trap 2: scope of applicability. Avoid the assumption that new fee applies to all H1B visa holders or renewals. It is strictly for fresh applicants in the next lottery cycle, not the existing visa holders, those temporarily outside the US or those applying for renewals. Okay. Pointer: political stance. Note that Indian opposition parties criticize the Modi government's perceived lack of firm stance against the US policy, framing it as strong arm tactics and bullying. This indicates the political sensitivity of the issue. One-time fee, a charge that is paid only once as opposed to recurring annual fee. Lottery cycle, the period during which the US government accepts the H1B petitions and conduct a lottery to select applicant due to high demand. Proclamation, an official formal public announcement by a head of state. Okay, and the next news is UK, Canada, Australia recognize Palestinian state. Okay, इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में क्या हुआ है कि एक बड़ा बदलाव हुआ है. यूनाइटेड किंगडम, कनाडा और ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने स्टेट ऑफ पैलेस्टीन को फॉर्मली रिकॉग्नाइज कर लिया है. ऐसा करने वाले ये पहली G7 कंट्रीज बन गए हैं. इस कदम का मकसद टू स्टेट सोल्यूशन को फिर से जिंदा करना है, दैट इज टू स्टेट सोल्यूशन. इसके ऊपर यूपीएससी ने PYQ पूछा, ठीक है. ये ध्यान रखना जरूरी है कि भारत ने पैलेस्तीन को नवंबर 1988 में ही रिकॉग्नाइज कर लिया था. इस मूव का यूएस और इसराइल ने विरोध किया है. इंडियाज रिकॉग्निशन ऑफ पैलेस्टीन इन 1988 is the cornerstone is the cornerstone of its foreign policy, rooted in the principle of solidarity, with the Palestinian cause, Palestinian cause as affirmed in various non-alignment movement resolution. As affirmed in various non-aligned movement resolutions, which have consistently spotted the right to self-determination, spotted the right to self-determination for Palestinian people. Okay, so in the major foreign policy shift, UK, Canada, and Australia, okay, do remember this, have formally recognized the state of Palestine. This makes them the first G7 countries to take the step, which comes ahead of UN General Assembly session and is seen as a response to international pressure over the war in Gaza. The move aims to revive the two-state solution. Over 140 of the 193 UN member states already recognize Palestine. Okay, do remember it. India position. The Congress party pointed out that India formally recognized Palestine back in November 1988, criticizing the current government policy as one of the moral cowardice. Okay. The US and Israel strongly opposed the move. Israel PM Netanyahu called it an absurd reward for terrorism. First G7 countries, do remember it. Misconception, do not conflict with the entire G7 bloc. Okay, recognizing Palestine. ये नहीं याद रखना कि सारे G7 ने recognize किया. Only UK, Canada and Australia have done so among the G7. Number of recognition, over 140 UN member states recognize the Palestine. UPSC aspirants might confuse this with the number of G7 or developed Western nation, which is significantly lower. India's recognition date. Remember, India's formal recognition of Palestine was in November 1988, not a recent event. Question might try to trick you into believing it is a contemporary decision. Two-state solution. Understand the core component and historical context of the two-state solution. Be wary of questions that oversimplify or misrepresent the solution's implications. Distinction between recognition and UN membership. Recognizing that state recognition by individual countries is distinct from Palestinian status within the United Nations, which is currently a non-member observer state. ठीक है, तो ये भी हमें याद रखना है. Key terms which you need to remember: a unilateral political act by a country that acknowledge another political entity as a sovereign state. Okay, state recognition. This is a unilateral political act. State versus government recognition. Confuse recognition of state, which is permanent, with recognition of a government, which can change. Okay, unilateral versus international law. Assume state recognition is always an international legal obligation rather than political act by individual state. De jure versus de facto. Mix up de jure, that is legal formal recognition, with de facto factual political recognitions. These are the prelim trap. Two-state solution. A proposed framework to resolve the Israel-Palestine conflict by establishing an independent state of Palestine alongside Israel. Exclusive solution. Assume it is the only proposed resolution. Other models like one-state solution or confederation are also debated. Universal acceptance. Overlook that not all parties or international actors fully support or agree on the specifics of the two-state solution. Historical conflation. Confuse the two-state solution framework with the specific historical peace accord, for example, Oslo Accord, with a step toward or attempt at it. Balfour Declaration, do remember it. A public statement by the British government during World War I announcing support for the establishment of national home for the Jewish people in Palestine. Okay, Balfour Declaration. Mix up 1917 with other significant dates in the region's history. Sole mandate, misunderstanding it as the sole basis for the British mandate for Palestine. It was one of the several contributing factors. National home versus state. Assume the declaration explicitly promised a Jewish state rather than a national home, which was deliberately less definitive. Okay, do remember it. It was a national home. Exclusivity. Forget the clause protecting the civil and religious rights of existing non-Jewish communities in Palestine. Okay, so do remember this prelim trap. And the next is Governor Assent and Article 200. Supreme Court here, presidential references. बेसिकली सुप्रीम कोर्ट एक प्रेसिडेंशियल रेफरेंस पे सुनवाई कर रहा है जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के आर्टिकल 200 एंड 201 से जुड़ा है। इसमें मुख्य सवाल ये है कि क्या गवर्नर्स के लिए स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर द्वारा पास किए गए बिल पर फैसला लेने के लिए कोई टाइम लिमिट फिक्स की जा सकती है। जब गवर्नर के पास बिल आता है तो उनके पास 4 ऑप्शन होते हैं: असेंट देना, असेंट ना देना, बिल को पुनर्विचार के लिए लौटाना, या फिर प्रेसिडेंट के लिए रिजर्व करना। पुंछी कमीशन on center-state relations specifically recommended a 6-month timeline for the governor to decide on assenting to or reserving a bill, aiming to prevent the indefinite holding of bill, which undermines the federal structure and legislative authority of state. Supreme Court is hearing presidential reference on the interpretation of Article 200, 201 of the Constitution, focusing on whether a timeline can be fixed for the governors to decide on bills passed by the state legislature. Article 200 option: when a bill is presented, the governor has 4 options: give assent, withhold assent, return the bill for reconsideration, reserve the bill for president consideration. Okay. Discretion versus advice. The governor is generally required to act on the advice of Council of Ministers. The discretion to reserve a bill for the president is to be used only in rare cases of patent unconstitutionalities. Okay. Confusion. Governor discretion. A common trap is assuming the governor has broad discretionary power in assenting to bills. While they have options, the Supreme Court has clarified their discretion is limited and generally bound by the advice of Council of Ministers, especially regarding ordinary bill. Misconceptions. Withholding versus returning. Many conflate withholding assent with returning a bill for reconsideration. Withholding assent effectively kills the bill, where returning it allows the legislature to reconsider and pass it again. Governor is not explicitly mandated to assent even if passed again, unlike the president with the central bills. Okay, governor is not explicitly mandated to assent even if passed again. ये दोबारा अगर पास करके भेज दिया जाए तो भी जरूरी नहीं है कि उसको अपनी असेंट देनी ही है। ठीक है। Mixing up commission recommendation. Candidates often confuse the recommendations of the Sarkaria Commission with Punchi Commission regarding timeline. Remember, Sarkaria focused on President decision on reserved bill, while Punchi Commission addressed the Governor timeline for assent. Do remember it. The term patent constitutionality for reserving a bill is a high bar. It implies an obvious and clear violation, not just a policy disagreement. This is critical nuance often overlooked. Okay. He recommended Sarkaria Commission recommended a 6-month maximum period for the president to decide on reserved bill, while the Punchi Commission recommended a 6-month timeline for the governor. So do remember this distinction. Okay. Uses PM term GST 2.0, a festival of saving. Congress flags concerns. Basically नया 2 slab GST regime शुरू हो गया from 22 सितंबर। पीएम मोदी ने इसे बचत उत्सव, दैट इज फेस्टिवल ऑफ सेविंग्स कहा है। इस नए स्ट्रक्चर में 4 स्लैब सिस्टम को आसान बनाकर मुख्य रूप से 2 स्लैब दैट इज 5% एंड 18% में बदल दिया गया है। लग्जरी और सिन गुड्स के लिए 40% का जो स्लैब है अभी भी बना हुआ है। कांग्रेस ने इसकी आलोचना की है। वो स्टेट्स के लिए जीएसटी कंपनसेशन को एक्सटेंड करने की मांग को दोहराया है। On the issue of GST compensation, the 15th Finance Commission in its report acknowledged the fiscal stress on states post GST implementation and suggested a need for predictable and sustainable revenue framework, highlighting the importance of consensus within the GST Council for major structural changes. Okay, so you can quote this in the answer. As the new 2-slab GST regime rolled out, PM Narendra Modi called it a Bachat Utsav, festival of saving, and a step toward Atmanirbharta, that is self-reliance. Congress criticized the reform as inadequate, highlighting the unresolved demand from state for an extension of GST compensation. The GST regime has been simplified from 4 slabs to primarily 2 slabs, 5% and 18%, with a 40% slab remaining for luxury and sin goods. PM vision. PM linked the reform and resulting lower prices to the need to adopt Swdeshi goods to boost MSME. Congress argued the reform don't address key issues for MSMEs and sectors like textile and tourism, and that states need for compensation for another 5 years. Do not assume GST system is exclusively a two slab structure. While primarily 5 and 18%, if 40% slab still exist for specific luxury and steel goods. ठीक है, तो अभी भी क्या है कि मल्टी स्लैब सिस्टम है ओवरऑल, क्योंकि अभी भी 40% का स्लैब तो अभी भी है ना. जीएसटी कंपनसेशन टेन्योर. The original GST compensation period for state was for 5 years, that is 2017 to 22. Do not confuse this with the Congress demand for additional 5-year extension, which is a political stance, not a current legal provision. Atmanirbhar Bharat link. PM mentions of Atmanirbharta is tied to potential outcome of lower prices encouraging domestic goods, not a direct structural change within the GST itself to promote self reliance. Understand the indirect link. ठीक है, कि आत्मनिर्भरता क्या है, एक इनडायरेक्ट लिंकेज है. इट इज अ इनडायरेक्ट linkage. MSME sector impact. While GST simplification aim to help MSME, be aware that the opposition argue it does not fully resolve all key issues for the sector. Avoid assuming complete resolution of MSME challenges through these reforms alone. Next news is EC pushes for special intensive revision nationwide. Okay, special intensive revision, that is SIR. तो इलेक्शन कमीशन ने सभी स्टेट चीफ इलेक्टोरल ऑफिसर्स, दैट इज सीईओ, को 30 सितंबर तक स्पेशल इंटेंसिव रिवीजन ऑफ इलेक्टोरल रोल्स के लिए तैयार रहने का निर्देश दिया है. सर एक आम एनुअल रिवीजन से ज़्यादा इंटेंसिव और कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव एक्सरसाइज होती है, जिसका मकसद वोटर लिस्ट को साफ और अपडेट करना है. इस कदम से ये संकेत मिलता है कि अक्टूबर नवंबर में एक नेशन वाइड वोटर लिस्ट क्लीन अप क्या हो सकता है. ठीक है. द नीड फॉर क्लीन and accurate electoral roll has been repeatedly emphasized by various committees on electoral reforms, including the Law Commission of India in its 255th report, which stated that purity of electoral rolls is fundamental to the purity of electoral process itself. Okay. Election Commission has directed state election officers to be prepared for a SIR of electoral rolls by September 30. This indicates potential nationwide rollout of the voter list cleanup exercise in October, November. So prelim pointers and traps which you need to remember. Base year for revision. The last SIR conducted in state will serve as the cutoff date and base document for the new revision. For example, the 2003 voter list is being used for the ongoing SIR in Bihar. State preparedness. Most states had their last SIR between 2002 and 2004. CEOs have been asked to keep the voter list from their last SIR ready for mapping. The move come as several states like Assam, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, West Bengal are due for assembly election in 2026. ECI versus State Election Commission. Do not confuse the Election Commission which conducts SIR for the Parliament State Assembly election with the State Election Commission with that deal with local body, that is Panchayat Municipality election. Electoral roll for the local election are prepared by SEC, often based on ECI rolls but with their own revision. SIR versus annual revision. SIR is more intensive. ठीक है, ये वो ज़्यादा intensive होता है, targeted and comprehensive exercise than the usual annual summary revision. Okay, so do remember it. UPSC might try to conflict the two processes or suggest SIR is a routine annual affair. Trap. Cutoff date misconception. The last SIR serve as the foundational base for the new revision, not necessarily the most recent annual summary revision. The specific year, for example, 2003 for Bihar is crucial. जो last SIR होता है वही क्या होता है, cutoff date decide करता है. Misinterpreting. Nationwide rollout. While a nationwide preparedness is directed, the actual intensive revision might be phased or prioritized based on the upcoming election rather than a simultaneous conduct across all state. Okay. SIR, that is special intensive revision, a targeted and time-bound process conducted by EC to comprehensively update and clean up electoral rolls beyond the usual annual summary revision. Electoral roll. An official list of all individuals who are registered and eligible to vote in a particular jurisdiction. Chief Electoral Officer. A senior officer in a state responsible for supervising the preparation of electoral rolls and conduct of elections. Next news is Karnataka caste survey commences amid controversy over कास्ट, कर्नाटका में सोशियो इकोनॉमिक और एजुकेशनल सर्वे शुरू हो गया है, ठीक है, दैट इज सोशियो इकोनॉमिक एंड एजुकेशनल सर्वे। इसका मकसद कास्ट, रिलीजन, एजुकेशनल और एम्प्लॉयमेंट पर डाटा कलेक्ट करना है ताकि रिजर्वेशन पॉलिसीज बनाई जा सके। लेकिन इसमें एक विवाद खड़ा हो गया है जब स्टेट के बैकवर्ड क्लासेस कमीशन ने, दैट इज स्टेट के बैकवर्ड क्लासेस कमीशन ने 33 क्रिश्चियन सब कास्ट जैसे लिंगायत, क्रिश्चियंस को सर्वे के मोबाइल ऐप से मास्क करने का फैसला किया। बीजेपी और डोमिनेंट कम्युनिटीज जैसे वीर शैवा लिंगायत इसका विरोध कर रहे हैं। दिस सर्वे अलाइन विद द सुप्रीम कोर्ट डायरेक्शन इन द इंदिरा साहनी एंड अदर्स वर्सेस यूनियन ऑफ इंडिया 1992 case which mandated state to establish permanent bodies, that is backward class commission, to undertake rigorous empirical inquiry into the condition of backwardness for the purpose of identifying and recommending group for reservation. Okay, the socio-economic and educational survey in Karnataka commences today, but the state backward class commissions will mask 33 Christian subcaste, for example Lingayat Christian, Vukaliga Christians, from the survey mobile application following a political uproar. Purpose of the survey, officially termed a socio-educational survey, it aims to collect data on caste, religion, education, land and employment to inform reservation policy. The state has 32% reservation quota for backward classes. The BJP and dominant communities like Veer Sheva Lingayat and Vokaligas have opposed the inclusion of these new subcasts, fearing it will reduce their numerical strength and political clout. The commission stated that these subcaste names emerged from self-declaration during the 2015 H. Kantharaj Commission survey, and that it does not have the authority to validate or remove caste. Caste census versus socioeconomic survey. Do not confuse the Karnataka survey, which is state-specific socioeconomic and educational survey, with the national caste census. The last comprehensive caste census for the whole of British India was in 1931. Modern survey like this one are often for specific policy formulation. Purpose of the survey. Understand that the primary purpose for such survey is typically to collect data for informing reservation policies and ensuring equitable distribution of resources, not just general population enumeration. Role of backward classes commission. Remember that the state backward class commissions primarily identify and recommend caste for inclusion or exclusion in state lists. The power to notify or amend these lists generally rests with the president for central list or governor for state list. Do remember this. This is the most important point. Commissions usually do not have the direct authority to validate or remove caste from the official list themselves. Constitutional provision for reservation. Be clear on the constitutional article related to reservation. For example, Article 15.4, 15.5, 16.4 for socially and educationally backward classes. This issue directly ties into these provisions. Dominant caste concept. The opposition from dominant communities like Veer Sheva Lingayat and Voka Ligas often arises from concerns over re-evaluation of their numerical strength, which could impact their share in the reservation benefits or the political representation. Subcaste recognition. The controversy over masking Christian subcaste highlight the complexity of caste identification and the sensitive nature of subcaste affiliation, especially when religious conversions are involved. Okay. And next news is Indian Air Force to retire legendary MiG-21 fighter jet. इंडियन एयरफोर्स अपने legendary MiG-21 फाइटर जेट्स को 26 सितंबर को ऑफिशियली रिटायर कर देगी। 1963 में शामिल किया गया MiG-21 इंडिया का पहला सुपरसोनिक फाइटर जेट था और लगभग 6 दशकों तक इंडियन एयरफोर्स की क्या बना रहा है, रीढ़ की हड्डी बना रहा। इसने 1965, 1971 और कारगिल 1999 के युद्ध में अहम भूमिका निभाई। 2019 में विंग कमांडर अभिनंदन वर्धमान ने इसी से पाकिस्तानी F-16 को मार गिराया था। द फेजिंग आउट ऑफ MiG-21 फ्लीट अलाइन विद द रिकमेंडेशन ऑफ शेखतर कमेटी which called for enhancing the teeth to teeth to tail ratio of the armed forces, teeth to tail ratio of the armed forces, and prioritizing capital expenditure of modern combat equipments to maintain a credible deterrence in a two-front scenario. Indian Air Force will officially retire its MiG-21 fighter jet on September 26, ending 6 decades of service for India's first supersonic fighter. Induction and legacy. First inducted in 1963, MiG-21 was the backbone of Indian Air Force for decades, with over 700 units of different variants serving the force. Its first squadron, number 28, was nicknamed the first supersonic. Okay. The phasing out of MiG-21 squadron will temporarily dip the Indian Air Force combat strength to 29 squadrons. Key combat role. Aircraft played role in 1965, 1971 wars and the 99 Kargil conflict and the 2019 Balakot air strike. Wing Commander Abhinandan Vardhaman shot down Pakistani F-16 from MiG-21 in 2019. Indigenous sources acquired. Do not confuse the MiG-21 as India's first indigenously developed supersonic fighter. It was India's first supersonic fighter, but it was acquired from the Soviet Union. Okay, do remember it. Conflicted historical events. While the MiG-21 participated in multiple conflicts, remember that the specific event of the Wing Commander Abhinandan Vardhaman shooting down Pakistani F-16 occurred in 2019 and involved a MiG-21. Avoid attributing this to earlier wars or different aircraft. Okay. Misleading dates or numbers. Pay close attention to specific dates. Induction 1963 versus retirement 26 September 2025. Assumed for ending nearly 6 decades of service. Do not mix up the number of units. Over 700 with the current squadron strength. Okay. The purpose of retirement. Retirement primarily address concerns about, it should be 2025, about the aircraft aging fleet and safety record, not a complete lack of supersonic capabilities in the Indian Air Force. India continued to induct modern supersonic fighters like Rafale and light combat aircraft Tejas. Okay. India's national supercomputing mission. India's supercomputing capabilities are being advanced under the National Supercomputing Missions, which was launched in 2015 to build a network of high performance computing capabilities. भारत की सुपर कंप्यूटिंग कैपेबिलिटीज को नेशनल सुपर कंप्यूटिंग मिशंस के तहत बढ़ाया जा रहा है, जिसे 2015 में लॉन्च किया गया था. इसे डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ साइंस एंड टेक्नोलॉजी दैट इज डीएसटी और मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स एंड आईटी मीटी मिलकर सीडेक पुणे और आईआईएससी बेंगलुरु के जरिए इंप्लीमेंट कर रहा है. भारत का सबसे तेज सुपर कंप्यूटर एरावत PSAI है, जो सीडक पुणे में स्थित है. द नेशनल सुपर कंप्यूटिंग मिशन इज द डायरेक्ट ऑपरेशनलाइजेशन ऑफ द गोल सेट फोर्थ इन इंडियाज साइंस टेक्नोलॉजी एंड इनोवेशन पॉलिसी, दैट इज STIP. Okay, which aims to create a robust ecosystem for research and innovation by providing access to world class infrastructure and bridging the gap between academia and industry. Okay. Implementing agency. National Supercomputing Mission is jointly implemented by the Department of Science and Technology and Ministry of Electronics IT through CDAC Pune and the Indian Institute of Sciences Bengaluru. Indigenous development. The mission spurred the development of indigenous Param series of supercomputer by CDAC, starting with Param 8000 in 1991. It now focuses on indigenous hardware like Rudra servers. Current fastest. India's fastest supercomputer is Airavat PSAI, located on CDAC Pune, which is ranked among the top 100 globally. Key applications include weather forecasting, monsoon modeling, and climate research. Implementing agencies, याद रखना, don't confuse the primary implementing agency, Department of Science Technology, MITI, with the executing agency, that is CDAC and IISc, Indian Institute of Sciences, Bengaluru, first supercomputer. Param 8000 1991 was India's first indigenously built supercomputer by CDAC. Avoid mixing it with other initial supercomputing efforts or subsequent Param models. Airavat PSAI ranking. Remember, Airavat PSAI is India's fastest and is in the global top 100, not necessarily top 10. Also, it's primarily at CDAC Pune. NSM launch year. Be careful not to confuse the NSM's launch year 2015 with the operational date of specific supercomputers or other related government initiatives. Okay. Mission scope. It is focused on building a network and ecosystem for high performance computing, not just individual supercomputers. Supercomputer, a computer with high level of performance compared to general purpose computers measured in flops, floating point operations per seconds. National Supercomputing Mission, a government initiative to create a powerful supercomputing infrastructure for academic and research institutions across India. CDEC, Center for Development of Advanced Computing and Autonomous Scientific Society of MITI, involved in research and development in IT and electronics. Okay. Stateless man and Ladakh demand. Okay. मद्रास हाई कोर्ट ने, दैट इज मद्रास हाई कोर्ट ने एक ऐसे व्यक्ति को राहत दी है जो श्रीलंकन शरणार्थी माता पिता से भारत में पैदा हुआ और बड़ा हुआ, ठीक है, लेकिन उसे स्टेटलेस घोषित कर दिया गया। वहीं लद्दाख में स्टेटहुड और 6 शेड्यूल में शामिल होने की मांग अभी भी क्या है, जारी है। तो दिस इज ऑल अबाउट दिस न्यूज। एज पर 1986 अमेंडमेंट टू द सिटीजनशिप एक्ट 1955, the principle of jus soli, that is citizenship by birth, was restricted, requiring at least one parent to be an Indian citizen for person born in India to acquire citizen by birth, which complicates such cases. Okay. So, citizenship case. The Madras High Court has granted interim relief to a man born and raised in India to Sri Lankan refugee parents, but declared stateless. His case is complicated by 1986 amendment to the Citizenship Act. And Ladakh demands protests in Ladakh continue for statehood and inclusion in the 6th schedule. Leaders fear that without the protection of Article 370, outsiders and the big industries will occupy their land and take over their business. When studying citizenship, differentiate between Constitutional Article 5 to 11 and the Citizenship Act 1955 along with its various amendments 1986, 2030, 2015. The 1986 amendment significantly restricted citizenship by birth. For Ladakh, understand why 6th schedule is demanded over 5th schedule for tribal areas and the implication abrogation of Article 370 on its special status compared to its states. Governance and securities, academic paywall. Delhi High Court's order to block free access sites like Science Hub and LiveGen has sparked a debate on the right to access knowledge, especially for researchers in the global south. Academic paywalls. Okay. Ganja trafficking. Investigation revealed that Rayalaseema youth are increasingly involved in trafficking ganja from the Andhra Odisha border region, with Tirupati serving as a major logistic hub for distribution to southern cities. Prelim trap, ski, legal and geography. In cases of academic cases, distinguish between Copyright Act 1957, right to knowledge, and concept of open access. Understand India stands on international treaties like Berne Convention and TRIPS Agreement. For drug trafficking, know the key provision of NDPS Act 1988. Be precise about geographic regions like Andhra Odisha border regions, as specific trafficking routes are common trap. And trick prelim snipers. H1B visa fee. It is a one-time new applicants. Clarify one-time $1 lakh charges for new applicant only, not annual fee. Do not confuse the one-time nature of this fee or its application to new applicants only with the annual charges or fee for all existing renewing visas. Misremembering this specific condition is a common pitfall. Palestinian recognition, global and India stance. UK, Canada and Australia formally recognized the state of Palestine. India did so in 1988. Be careful not to conflate India historical recognition with the recent move off by other nations. A common mistake is assuming India recognition is a recent development and confusing the date of recognition by different countries. Governor assent. Supreme Court review of Article 200. Supreme Court is hearing presidential reference on fixing timeline for the governor to act on bills under Article 200. Understand that the debate is about fixing timeline for the governor assent, not about questioning the governor's powers to withhold assent or reserve bill. Also remember Article 200 specifically deals with the governor assent, not the president. GST 2.0 simplified 2-slab regime. New simplified 2-slab GST regime, 5% and 18% rollout. Ensure you know that specific new slab rates 5%, 18%, and that this is simplified 2-slab system, differentiating it from previous multi-slab structure. Also be aware GST 2.0 implying a revision, not the original implementation. Sir, voter list cleanup. Election Commission direct states to be ready for nationwide voter list cleanup by September 30. Remember that SIR is a voter list cleanup initiative by Election Commission focusing on accuracy and readiness for the elections. Don't confuse it with the electoral reforms or the voter registration drive alone. Its primary purpose here is revision and cleanup. Karnataka Caste Survey, controversial subcaste. Begin with the 33 controversial Christian subcaste masked in the app. The key trap here is the specific detail of the 33 controversial Christian subcaste being masked, highlighting the sensitivity and complexity of caste-based data collection. MiG-21 retirement, end of an era. Note that the MiG-21 historical significance as the IF first supersonic fighter and its long service record since 1963. A trap might be confusing its induction year on its first supersonic status with other fighter aircraft. National Supercomputer Mission launched in 2015, implemented by CDEC and IISc. India's fastest is Aerawat PSI. Crucial details to remember are the launch year 2015, implementing agency CDEC and IISc, and the name of the India's fastest supercomputer is Aerawat PSI. Mixing up these facts, especially the name or date, is common error. 18th Lok Sabha and the young MPs. The 18th Lok Sabha is the oldest yet, with a declining share of young MPs. Okay. The core trap is the trend. The 18th Lok Sabha being the oldest with declining share of young MPs. Do not assume an increasing trend of young representation or confuse the specific age bracket for the young MPs. So this was all about today news. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.